Tonight on 2020, see how Ebola threatens its
Sister Maya contract the disease.
Well, our younger sister, she had Ebola, but it was originally misdiagnosed. And so Maya was caring for her, thinking that she would be fine, and then she contracted Ebola.
The doctor checks the pulse of Maya, but she has already slipped into death. Lucy chats with the doctor about Ebola.
Infects the host.
So Ebola spreads from person to person through contact with bodily fluids, but at the cellular level, it uses the lytic cycle. Basically, it attaches to the host cell, poisons it to create copies of the Ebola virus, and then releases those copies.
How and when did you start to see the symptoms of Ebola in your sister?
It was about 2 weeks after the funeral when Maya started getting the severe headaches. And a couple days later, she started vomiting and had diarrhea, and that's when I knew that she had it too, Ebola. Tell me how long the incubation period usually is.
It's about 8 to 10 days. So basically, all that is the time between when Maya was infected with it to when she started showing symptoms.
So what are the symptoms of Ebola?
So other than fever, vomiting, and headache, there's also a lot of bleeding because it's a hemorrhagic fever, and this eventually leads to blood vessels failing, a lot of blood pressure loss, and then eventually major organ shutting down.
What prompted you to first volunteer?
When Maya got sick, I could see that she was in a lot of pain. And once she got closer to her death, it was harder for me to watch. And I knew that I had to do something. I didn't know what, but I had to do something. And I wasn't just going to stand back and watch as innocent people died of this incurable disease. So that's when I decided I needed to do anything.
So doctor, is there a cure for Ebola?
Will there ever be? So right now we're working on prototypes for vaccination, and there will be one, but we don't have one yet. But we found out that indolent alkaloids actually stop the replication of the disease, but we don't know why or how it works, so we can't use that yet.
How do your neighbors react to your volunteer work?
They didn't react too well. It started small. Like, we would wave a greeting to each other as we passed, but they'd never approach me. And then it began to get worse. They started threatening me, saying that they would kill me before the Ebola could, that they didn't want me to infect them. And there were times when I almost stopped volunteering, but then I remembered why I was doing it. I was doing it for Maya.
Lucy's neighbor threatens her to stay away.
How do you feel about your neighbor working in the quarantine?
It scares me because I don't want Ebola spreading to my family. And it's an incurable disease that I don't need it infecting my family. Just because her family members are dying doesn't mean mine have to.
Describe processes for entering the quarantine.
Well, so when you were preparing to go into the treatment center, you would have to get all suited up, and that included the suit itself, which was more of a coverall. You would layer on 2 pairs of gloves. You would have a surgical cap, a respirator, boots, and an apron. And when putting on all these articles of clothing, you would be assigned a partner who would make sure that there were no rips or tears or any exposed skin. And all precautions were taken, which was very good, but that could be a hassle. But the hard part wasn't getting in the suit, it was getting out of it.
Now can you help us understand the process of getting out of the quarantine center?
Yes, so you'd start off by directly after you come out, you'd be sprayed with a chlorine solution. And then you would also step into a basin filled with that solution. After that, you would proceed to take off your gloves and place them in a separate bin. And then you would have to wash your hands, and then you take off another article of clothing, wash your hands. And this process would continue until the end, when you would finally have all the articles of clothing off and wash your hands again. And you would usually wash your hands with that chlorine solution yet again. So the chlorine is used to decontaminate and disinfect. But so most things could be reused, such as the coveralls, the apron, the boots, but everything else had to be disposed of, and so that they would be incinerated. How many people have died from Ebola in 2014?
So according to the World Health Organization, about 83% of the people die.
Thank you for watching 2020.